Welcome to the channel, everyone. In today's video, we're talking about Sonic Frontiers. So, I'm like super behind on this video. I got this game when it originally came out, but there was just so much games coming around that November, December, and even January, there's just like a ton of stuff. Plus, I had work, and I just had a lot of things going on, so I just never had the time to actually sit down and play this. And actually, I ended up beating this game a while ago, but just never have had the time to actually sit down and edit a video about it. But we're going to talk about it now. Better late than never. This video is going to be kind of just short and sweet. Like I said, I just don't have a whole lot of time to just give this as much as of a big breakdown or full explained thoughts as I do in a lot of my other videos. I mainly just wanted to talk about the things that I liked and things that I didn't like, and then, you know, give my score at the end. So starting off with the things that I liked about Sonic Frontiers. The game was really fun to play, like just running around the open world, doing all the random stuff that it has. Like, it was just fun to run around and fight the enemies. Speaking of which, that Sonic does have a good variety, I felt like, of just open world like enemies to fight, along with just random like big boss encounters in the open world. And like all the boss fights were super fun. They all had like a special way that you had to take them down that wasn't just like spam the X button or the trigger button, things like that. So the bosses were fun. Also the Titan bosses, which are the big bosses on each of the islands, the big main bosses you fight, those were a lot of fun. And frick, the music for Sonic Frontiers, especially when you're fighting those Titan boss fights, was so epic. Like, I remember hearing people saying about how like Sonic got shafted at the Game Awards, and I 100% agree. This soundtrack was fire. I also really enjoyed the like the cyber world areas, like where you go into the shrines and you go to like the old school Sonic games. Those were freaking awesome. I played every single one of those. Some of them were super hard, but it just reminded me of like the original Sonic. I had it like those like plug it and play it's way back in the day, and it had like a bunch of games on it. One of them was Sonic on the Genesis, and it was so fun, and that's what it really reminded me of, just more of like an updated version of the old Sonic game. A lot of fun. Those are probably some of my best parts of this game, was those like cyber world areas. I touched on this just a moment ago, but the open world I thought was pretty decent here. There's lots of tasks to do, and most of the open world tasks I actually really enjoyed. I thought they were pretty fun. All were super easy and super quick. They weren't hard at all, but they were just fun little mini games that you can play. I also just loved that the idea of taking Sonic open world. I just felt like now that it's open world, like making Sonic run around and just go as fast as he can, it was so much more enjoyable than some of the other, you know, Sonic titles where you can't necessarily do that as much. I don't know, this just made me feel like I was going fast all the time. When I had that speed cranked all the way up, got my speed maxed out, and you could just fly across the open world. It was cool. And for the most part, those were the things that I really liked about Sonic Frontiers. Like I said, the bosses, the open world, everything like that was a lot of fun. I enjoyed a lot of the little mini games. I enjoyed jumping around on the rails and hitting all like the bouncy stuff and just trying to get like climb all the way up these spires and stuff like that. A lot of good stuff. Now talking about some of the things that I didn't quite like about Sonic Frontiers. Honestly, I wasn't really feeling the story. To be 100% honest, I have no idea what was going on for like the first like 75% of the game. It wasn't until like towards the end that I started to see what was going on, and they give you a little bit more story bits. But just, I kid you not, for like the first like 2 islands, I was like, I have no idea what I'm really doing. I know we're trying to save Knuckles and some of your other buddies out of the cyberspace because they're like half in it, half not in it. But I don't know, the story was very vague, and I don't know, I just didn't really care for it. Don't get me wrong, it definitely had its good moments, but I felt like it took too long to tell the story for me to, like, I lost interest, if that makes sense. Another issue that I had with the game is that there was a ton of pop-in, despite there being several, you know, updates by the time I actually played this game. But yeah, pop-in was still really bad. Honestly, if I'm being 100% honest, it really didn't affect my gameplay all that much. It was just very noticeable. Pretty much the entire time I played, I always saw a pop-in, especially when you're running really fast down the open world. I think the only 2 times that it really caught my attention to where it was affecting my gameplay is I was trying to get to a certain spot. There's an island with a bunch of like little islands that you'll go to, and I couldn't figure out how to get to this other island. The next objective showed me to go to this island, and I had no idea how to get there. and it's because I wasn't close enough to the edge or something like that, that the rails that you use to get across never actually popped in, so I couldn't see it. So that was a bit annoying. Honestly, I would say that my biggest issue with the game, that I hate when games do this, is that there are so many times where you're just running around in the open world and you get close to something, or you hit a launch pad type thing or a bouncy thing, and then the game takes control away from the player. And what I mean by that is, like, I'm running around doing something and all of a sudden I hit like a dash pad thing, and all of a sudden it forces the camera to turn. I can't turn the camera anymore, and now I have to play the game in a very specific way. And it just felt, every time it happened, it threw me off. Like, I'm in the middle of trying to do something or run away from somebody or trying to chase something, and I would accidentally have something like that happen, and it would just automatically swivel, take control of the camera, and then like the controls switch a little bit. And I don't know, I just hate when games do that, because they did such a good job. They made it open world, and they give you so much more freedom with Sonic when you're running around, and you can do whatever you want. Look at all the rails, you know, move the camera whatever way you want, and then all of a sudden you do this, and it's like, no, you have to play this way. And I don't know, I just don't like that. Lots of games do it, and I don't like it when they do it either. I'm like, why give me the freedom to do it when you're just going to take it away later? And those are going to be it for my pros and cons of Sonic Frontiers. Overall, I thought Sonic Frontiers was a good game. I really enjoyed it, and although I felt like it did have, you know, some faults in the games, like the pop-in and the taking away of the controls, and the story I didn't feel like was super great, but I feel like the pros outweigh the cons here. The boss fights were a lot of fun, the open world was a lot of fun, and so that is why I'm giving Sonic Frontiers a 7 out of 10. Now let me know down in the comments below, guys, what you thought of Sonic Frontiers. Also, do me a huge favor, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you guys on the next video.